Hi there, welcome to 90% Knitting. This is episode 331. I'm Lisa, also known as Fiber Nymph, and today's Thursday, February 6th. Welcome to February, folks. January is all the way gone. How'd that happen? January was also my podiversary month. I don't think I even mentioned it last month. I've been podcasting officially now for 9 years. I don't remember what my official podiversary date is, but whatever. Doesn't matter. 9 years. Woohoo! And if you've been with me for those whole 9 years, thank you so much. God bless you. And if you're newer, thank you for coming along. And I just realized that what I'm wearing sort of matches this yarn. Although this is a much more orange yarn than this. This is a red yarn. I'll talk about this in a few minutes. Anyway, that was not planned, but it's kind of funny now that I'm seeing it. Where to start? I've got stuff to share with you today. Oh, I want to give you a heads up though. I'm recording this episode in two parts. One part, the main part I'm recording today. The second part I'm probably going to record tomorrow because it's the shop update section, and I've got some yarn that I want to show you, but it's not yet dry. So I didn't want to bring up damp yarn to show you. So I'm going to do that one separately. It'll just explain why I'm probably going to be wearing two different outfits throughout this podcast. I don't usually do a wardrobe change midway, but that is what will most likely happen tomorrow because I probably will not be wearing the same outfit. Probably. You never know. I'm self-employed and work from home, so me wearing the same clothes multiple days in a row is not necessarily out of the question, but usually for podcasting, I try to at least make it look like I know how to change clothes. Hello, it's me, and it is tomorrow, meaning Friday, and here I am in a different outfit, as predicted. I just wanted to let you know that I have had a change of plans since recording yesterday. I thought about it, and I think it'll actually work better for me to just upload the main part of this video as its own thing, and then I will record the shop news and the update preview section of the video and have it be its own little standalone addendum to this episode. This one's already long enough, and I still have a few things I need to finish up before I do the shop news segment, and I don't want to hold up this part of the video any longer. So I'm going to go ahead and finish processing this and get it uploaded hopefully by the end of today, and then probably tomorrow I will record the shop news segment and show you everything that will be in the update, because I realized I actually have more to go in the update than I realized and I need to finish some things up with that before I show it to you in its entirety. So this will work better, but I just wanted to pop in and let you know that, since I probably just got done telling you that I was going to do the shop segment today and tack it on at the end of what I recorded yesterday. At least that's what I just told you, if I managed to put this little snippet of video in the correct place in yesterday's video. But just to leave you with a teaser, the pretties. These are some of the pretties that you're going to see tomorrow. Oh, I'm so mean. Okay, back to the video that I recorded yesterday. Let's talk about some knitting, shall we? I've got things to show you. I've got finished objects, and I'm going to start with the one that I'm wearing because this has been a very long languishing whip. I'm going to back the camera up so that you can actually see it. Oh, hey, by the way, we're back in the yarn room. Can you tell? I'm just not on the floor today. I decided to try the corner, which I like. I don't know if the fact that you can see my reflection in this TV screen behind me is going to be weird or distracting. Hopefully it won't be. I don't have anywhere else to go with the TV. It's where I do my yoga every day, though, in here, watching it on that TV. Anyway, I like this setup. I think this works. I can sit on a stool, and I have a table in front of me, and you see pretty yarns. And it's a gloomy enough day today that the ceiling light is actually kind of working. I mean, it's always working. You turn the switch on and it works, but I just mean it's not weird and glary. So I'm happy with this today. We'll just go with it. Okay, Now I'm going to move the camera. There we go. Oh, well, you can kind of see it better. Sorry, it's really long. This is the Right Around the Corner shawl. It's got a tassel down here too. Okay, gosh, how can I do this? Okay, maybe if I kneel on my stool. Oh, there we go. Okay, that's kind of all right. The Right Around the Corner shawl is a pattern by Lisa Hans, Hannes. I don't know if that's the right pronunciation, but that's the best I can do with it. I cast this on February 1st, 2019, and I just finished it January 31st, 2020. So, for those of you who do the math and like the calendars, that's a year. This took me a year. But it's done now. Woo! And look at the tassels. You know what? This project, it was all about the tassels. That was really, really why I knit it. I wanted the tassels. Just being upfront with you on that. Okay, so while I'm here in this sort of uncomfortable position, kneeling on this stool, I will show it to you this way because this is how it will be worn. It's kind of funny. It sort of looks like a jester's hat now that I'm seeing it this way on the camera. Okay. All right, we're back. So the stool that I'm sitting on is a hard wooden stool, and that was not at all comfortable on my poor knees. Okay, let me tell you the details about this shawl. This shawl, again, Lisa Hahn is, Hannes, is the designer. I knit this out of Fiber Nymph Dye Works Mountain Tweed base, which is a fingering weight yarn. And the colors are deep red, and this was autumn gold. This is not a color that I dye very often. I think I only did it once when I first introduced this yarn, now that I think about it. But I'll be dyeing more of it since I did this shawl, and I'm going to have it as a sample it shows. Anyway, I started this last year. I was really gung-ho. My inspiration for starting it was the fact that Maria, who is one of our viewers, hi Maria, she knit one of these, and it was so adorable, and she had all the tassels. The pattern calls for these two tassels. Maria added this tassel also, the third one, and I thought, I need the tassels. And so I cast it on, and I knit it a little while, but this stripy section here, okay, I'm going to take it off to show you a little bit better. This stripy section just bored the bejeebers out of me. You start here, and then you work out, and you're increasing on one side, obviously, and it just gets longer and longer and longer and longer. The rows get longer and longer and longer also. And then, yeah, I was so bored with it. I don't know why. It was just garter stitch striping, but I couldn't. So I set it aside and never went back to it last year, despite great intentions. But then this year, I did add this to my 20 and 20 list, I think, for patterns. And I ended up pulling it out because I'm on a quest to add some new samples for my show sample collection. I pulled it out, I started working on it, and it flew. I don't know why I got stuck on it. I guess last year just was not this project's year, but it worked great this year. I knit it, I got it done, and I'm really, really happy with it. So anyway, after you do that triangle, the striped triangle, you pick up the one edge and you do one of the colors in a big garter band, and then you bind that off and you pick up this side and you do that band, and then you're done, and you add your tassels. I will say I did not make this quite as large as the pattern called for. At least I did not follow the pattern with regard to how many garter ridges that you were supposed to end up with. I was a couple garter ridges short, I believe, on the main section. I was several, like 10, at least 10 garter ridges short on these edge bands. I would not have had enough yarn to do it the way the pattern was written. I don't remember what yarn she originally used in the pattern, but I'm going to assume she had more yardage than I had with these. But honestly, it's pretty darn big, as you can see. I don't love it as much as I love elongated triangular shawls. This is much more of a triangular shawl. And I know there's a technical word for that, but my math brain isn't happening right now. At any rate, I blocked this really pretty aggressively with regard to this top edge, which I should have probably carried those yarn or done those yarns on this edge a little looser than I did, but I blocked it really, really aggressively to try to get more width out of it. I did not block the other two edges at all. I just sort of laid them out, and they hung down over my blocking surface that I was using, which was elevated. And it worked out fine, because garter doesn't, I mean, it blocks, but it doesn't block, you know what I mean, compared to stockinette. So anyway, whatever, it works great to wear bandana style. And that is how I would anticipate wearing it when it's not on like a mannequin or on something in my display. Now I probably have it messed up, but whatever. Okay, so yeah, so I've got my tassels. I was a little on the fence about putting this tassel on just because of how long the center of this triangle is. It comes down pretty low, you could see. The bottom of the triangle is, well, I'm sitting now, comes about to my belly button. So then when you get this tassel hanging, it's dangling right above there. Your lady garden area, if you're a lady. And that's not necessarily a great place to have a tassel, but honestly, when I had it on today, when I was getting ready to do the podcast, I looked at it, and I didn't have this tassel on it yet, actually. I just had these two on, so I put the shawl on, and I was looking in the mirror, and I'm like, you know what? I need that third tassel. There's something about threes that it's very visually pleasing, and I wanted the third tassel, so I actually sewed it on while I was wearing it. It's just so that I could have it, and I like it. I don't actually remember at this point how the pattern has you do the tassels. If you're doing the same colored tassel on the same colored section, I swapped mine around because I thought it looked cute that way. And then this one I used both colors yarns. And I'll tell you what, I have very little yarn left over. I maybe have I don't even know that I have 5 grams of yarn left. I don't know. I used pretty much both skeins the full way. So this, again, will be a sample in my booth this year. If you're coming to any of my shows, you will most likely see it in person. Okay, so I have another finished project, which I didn't even have started the last time I podcasted, but it was something that I was planning to do, and it was on my 20 and 20 list for yarn, I think. And that is a pair of Shortie sport weight socks. So here they are. The yarn was on my yarn list for 20 and 20, I believe, and this is another crafty girl, her Strong Sport, and the colorway is called Floating Lanterns. And I've had this yarn in my stash for a while, and I love it. I love the colors. Sarah, who is another crafty girl, the dyer for that company, she is so good at doing these kind of colorways where it's got so many colors in it, but you don't get pooling because they're in such small little segments. I just love this. So much going on. And so I was just going to do, my plain vanilla sock, but then I decided I really wanted to play on these colors. And so I ended up doing my own slipped stitch motif here with the yarn. So that's what you're seeing. This isn't a it may very well be a pattern that somebody else has written. I don't know. I just did my own thing. I've written pretty extensive details in my project page on Ravelry as to how I did this, so if you want to look at it and see it more closely, you can, if you'd like to try to emulate it. It's just a really fun pattern that calls out those colors so nicely. The funny thing about doing patterns, slip stitch patterning on a sock like this, is that the yarn pulls because you're using that same little bit of yarn. Every time you slip a stitch, that's one little stitch worth of yarn that you're essentially using for 3 rounds. So it pulls up, not pulls P-O-O-L-S, it pulls P-U-L-L-S. And so what you get is the front part of the sock kind of does this curve thing because it's pulling up like this. And then you've got, you know, your sole part, which is just stockinette and is normal. So the sole is actually a little longer than the top part of the sock, which made it a little difficult to measure whenever I was trying to see when I needed to start my toe and all that. The two socks are not identical in size. The first sock I did, I made a little smaller than I really would have liked to have, but that was again because I think I just mismeasured. The second sock, I did one of these slip stitch motif repeats, which is 4 rounds. I did one extra one, and I think between doing that and I did my afterthought heel a little bit differently on the second one, that made the second one fit just a tiny bit better than the first one. And they both fit fine. I won't have any problem wearing them. My only regret, if I have one, is I wish I would have made this cuff part about another 1/2 inch to 1 inch longer. I should have looked at some of my other Shortie socks. I like the ribbing of my Shortie socks to come up above my ankle bone. And on this one, it comes right over my ankle bone. So I don't think they'll slide off, but they would feel more secure if they were just a wee bit taller. But honestly, I really love them. I love these colors. This yarn is amazing. Again, that's another Crafty Girl strong sock in the Floating Lanterns colorway. I did these on 54 stitches, US 1.5 needles. Any project that I'm talking about today, in case you're new, you can find linked in the drop down box below, and they link to my project pages on Ravelry, where I try to keep pretty good notes for most of my projects. So anyway, including this. I don't think I told you needle size for this. US 4s for the shawl. Okay, so those are my 2 finished objects. I have 1 almost finished object. It's actually it's not knit, it's crocheted. The crocheting is all complete. So, does this look familiar to you? If you've been around for a while, if you've been watching since 2015, which was when this project was started, you will have seen this now and again. This was originally going to be a mini granny square blanket. Only, I was over those mini granny squares really fast. I love crocheting granny squares, but these mini ones were just, I realized it was going to take me forever to do them. The Granny Stripes blanket I did within a year or 2, that was amazing. I really enjoyed that. I could see myself doing another one of those. This, not so much. So the last time we saw this, I was talking about I was going to just finish off the row that I was in the middle of. I think I needed like 7 more squares to finish off one of these horizontal rows, and then I was going to let's see, actually it would have been here, right? Yeah, actually I think it was from this red square over to here. These were the last 7 squares I put on it, and then I was going to start crocheting granny stripes above it and below it, because I really enjoyed doing the granny stripes. And the more I thought about it, I thought, you know what, it might look weird, it might not look weird, I don't know, but I think the fabric would have ended up being very different, and I just wasn't digging that idea anymore. So what I ended up doing, I went back to one of my other like Plan Bs, and I turned it into a pillow cover. So it is now crocheted together, so see the opening there. I did have to do 5 more squares in this direction to have an even number on both sides so that I could fold it here rather than in the middle of squares. So yeah, so it is how many now? 8? I think it's 8 squares across, 5 squares down, and it's folded in half. So at this point, what I need to do is I need to find a pillow for it. This is not a standard pillow size by any stretch. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the dollar store, and I'm going to buy one of their super cheapy pillows. Because seriously, you can get a pillow for $1 in the dollar store. I buy them there to make beds for my dog, because that way if she barfs or does something on it, I can just throw it away and get a new one. And it's not, because you know how much dog beds cost? Like legit dog beds are ridiculous. They're a lot of money. a pillow at the dollar store, $1. Put an old pillowcase on it. There you go. And my dog loves it. Matter of fact, she loves it more than her dog bed sometimes. Okay, I digress. I'm going to go buy a cheap pillow, and if I have to, I will cut it and seam it up. I've done that before with those to make smaller pillows. I did that to make camping pillows for my husband and I, so they're like half-size pillows. But they're pretty easy to do that way. And so if I have to, I can do that, and then I'm going to make a nice cover. I'm really thinking like purple velvet, purple crushed velvet. Wouldn't that be pretty? I don't know why I have that in my head, but you're going to be able to see whatever's in here through here because it's crochet and it's got holes. So I want it to be a pretty color under there. So I'm going to make a cover for whatever pillow I put in there, and then I will put this on, and then I will crochet this shut, and it'll be a fun decorative pillow. And I told my husband about it, and he's like, okay, great, and then what are you going to do with it? I said, well, it's going to be on our bed. And he's like, I'm like, why? He's like, that's another thing we have to move before we go to bed. What is it with guys and throw pillows? They don't get it. Maybe your husband or partner does, but mine are like, he's like, meh, pillows. We don't need pillows. Okay, so anyway, this is a project that, again, has been happening since 2015. So I did get it finished under the 5-year mark, if you can consider it finished, because it's not finished in the project it was originally meant to be, but it's finished. You know, the other thing that was really making me crazy whenever I went to do the last several squares, I could not get them to be the same size as the ones that I had done previously. I was using the same hook. It was a C2, like I think a 2.75 millimeter hook. It's a really tiny hook. That's what I have in my project page, but no matter what I did, I was not getting the same size squares as all of the rest of them. I was doing them the same way. My tension, I don't think, has changed. But, yeah, they just were not cooperating size-wise. I mean, you can really see that in some of these. Like, if you look at this red one, and then you look at this one, I mean, there's a distinct size difference there. I don't know. I don't know why. Maybe I was using a smaller hook, because I know I do have another hook. Actually, at one point, we lost a hook in my husband's car. It has never been found. The car ate it. So maybe when I replaced the hook, I did go with a different size. I could have goofed. I don't know. Whatever. Just the fact that it was not correct was driving me crazy, and that was another reason I did not want to prolong that project anymore. So it is mostly finished, and I'll show you once I do get the pillow in it that's covered, because I think it's going to look pretty. And I'm really, really trying hard not to put tassels on the corner of that pillow. Although, you never know, I might. I'm kind of in a tassel mode right now. All right. What else have I worked on that you have seen? My Wind Waker cowl. It's gotten a little more progress. I'm telling you, this is... I love it. I love the color work on this. It's just tedious because there's 600 stitches on the needle, and no matter what I do, they're just a lot of work to keep them moving around the needles. So I think the last time you saw it, I had the orange arrows mostly done, or maybe they were done. And so now I've started the lime green ones, which you're not seeing too well in this light right now. Anyway, but you can also see how the main color starts to form arrows going in the opposite direction, which I think is super cool. When you saw this last time, I had this on a longer needle. I'm using my Leica interchangeable needles, so I had 2 cables put together, and it was probably about 40 inches, which I thought would make it easier to manage the 600 stitches because they wouldn't be all bunched up. However, I wasn't having any easier time moving them around that big long needle than I was around the original shorter needle. Actually, maybe it was on the shorter needle whenever you saw it last. I don't remember. But just trust me that I did have this on a longer needle for a while, and it was not any easier to move the stitches, the fabric around it. The other issue though was because it was so long and it was fairly rigid, you know, because the cable makes it rigid, I was having trouble working with it on my lap because I had to kind of manually like push it way out away from me so that I could have my knitting down on my lap where I tend to knit, rather than having to have it way up here, because this is not a comfortable position to work. I took one of the cables off that I had connected, so I'm back down to probably about a 24-inch length. And even though it's still very bunched up and not easy to move around on the needles, it's much more comfortable to work on in my lap, and I don't have to fight it. So it's going well. At any rate, this is the Wind Waker pattern by, who's it by? Vera Thoben. And I'm knitting this out of my Ridgetop fingering weight base, which Ridgetop is an 80-20 Romney Falkland blend non-superwash that I'm having milled for my shop specifically, and I love it so much. The colors that I'm using, my main color is Wisp. This is Ember, the orange, and then this is Lime Green, and then I have two other colors that will come in for the last two arrows, Peacock and Warm Honey. I did mention last time I showed this to you that I was thinking about doubling it because it is a very narrow cowl once you seam the two long sides together. I did not do the provisional cast on this. I just cast it on and then I will match or stitch it at the end, which I'm fine with doing as opposed to doing a provisional cast on for 600 stitches. Anyway, I talked about maybe doing it double the width, like with stripes on the back, using all of my contrast colors. I've decided against that. Number one, I don't want to have to work with 600 stitches on this needle any longer than I need to. But number two, I do want to be true to the pattern as it's written, since it is going to be one of my show samples. I decided that was more important than having it be how I would want it if I was making it just for me personally. So I'm just going to do it the way the pattern is written as far as how wide it will be. And I think it'll be fine. And I have another thought on that, which I'll tell you in a little bit. The needles, what size needles am I using? US 3s. So that is Wind Waker. I can only work on it for a little while at a time, but it's making progress. So I do have one other project that I've been working on a lot. Actually, this week I cast it on Monday, and it is yet another project that will be a show sample when it's done. And this one is a sweater. And the pattern's name is Seamark. I'll show you this picture of it. I did not print out like the big picture on the front page, and as you can see, my printer is kind of dying there, my ink cartridge, but you get a pretty good picture. It's a really pretty pullover. It's DK weight, cabling on the front on those two strips. It has a split hem. The back is significantly longer than the front, the way the pattern is written. I did change that up a little bit on mine. Even though it is going to be a sample, I figured changing that difference isn't a big deal. So I'm knitting it out of my Ridgetop DK, which is again the same blend, Romney Falkland, non-superwash. Oh no, losing needles or losing stitches. And I am knitting it out of Lime Green, which is one of the arrow stripes in that cowl. And so that's what I was going to say, because this is a crew neck sweater. When I have it on the display, I think it would be really pretty to have that cowl wrapped around this sweater. Thinking ahead, as if that was a plan. Actually, it was sort of a plan. I will say that. Okay, so here is my ribbing. This is the back. You start with the back. So it's all just basically the ribbing and then stockinette. There's no cabling on the back. I did my ribbing so that there's about how many inches? I want to say there's 2.5 inch. I think there's a 2.5 inch difference between the front and the back ribbing, the way the pattern's written. I did my back ribbing shorter so that there will only be a 1-inch difference. I can deal with that. I'm not a huge fan of that higher in the front, lower in the back look to begin with, but I can handle an inch. That won't drive me crazy. However, I'm still making the whole sweater the original length, so the back is still as long as it's supposed to be. It's just going to bring the whole sweater down a little bit, which will also be fine because this sweater sits up a little higher than what I would like. And again, even though this is predominantly for a sample in my booth, I would like to be able to wear it. So I'm willing to adjust a little bit on this more so than on an accessory where it doesn't matter quite as much. Okay, so I have knit pretty much the whole thing. I've done the decreases, the underarm decreases, and I just completed the sleeve, the armhole shaping on the back, and so now I just have to knit up the rest of the back until you start working the neck and shoulder shaping. So it's so enjoyable. I love working with this yarn. I mean, I know I'm not the most unbiased person because it is my yarn and it's literally a base that I helped to design with the mill, but I love it. I think it makes such nice garments. It's got such good structural integrity. This is all I have left of my first 2 balls. I am alternating skeins. Even though lime green is a color that dyes up pretty consistently, it's still a semi-solid, so I want to make sure we're not going to see stripes. So that's why I'm alternating like you do. So I'm pretty pleased with the yardage, how we're getting that. I will have to break into ball 3 and 4 to finish the back, I'm sure. I'm not going to get the rest of the back out of what's left there. But you figure, I was always taught that the back of a sweater is about 1/3 of your yarn, the front is about 1/3 of your yarn, and your sleeves are another 1/3. Obviously, since the front has some cabling, that's going to be a little skewed. But I dyed 9 skeins of this yarn. I think I'll have plenty. Did I tell you the details of the pattern? It's called Seamark. The designer is Rachel Brockman. It was published in Wool People Volume 13, which is a Brooklyn Tweed publication, and that came out last June 2019. I can't remember if I've knit a Brooklyn Tweed pattern before, but I'll tell you what, man, this pattern was 19 pages long. I printed out the ones that had the pertinent information on it, but yeah, crazy amount of things. And I do like my patterns to be printed. Okay, gauge. The gauge called for in the pattern is 20 stitches over 4 inches. I am getting about 18. So I know my gauge is off, but it's okay. The size I'm doing is the 4th size in, which is the 48 inch. And it is you're supposed to have intended ease of a positive 5 to 7 inches. So that should work out okay for me. I'm hopeful. My primary goal for knitting this sweater is as a sample, not for something for me to wear, but it's nice if I can wear it too. So there you go. Again, that's Seamark, and the designer is Rachel Brockman. So that is all the knitting. I'm really happy with what I've accomplished in these last few weeks. Right now, I really am pretty focused on doing show samples because my show season starts in a month. A month from this Saturday, 4 weeks. So I'm really gearing up for show season already. I'm sorry I keep bumping the table and wiggling the camera. I don't have any other socks on the needles right now, which is weird for me. I usually have socks on the needles that I'm actively working on, and I don't right now. But I think the next thing that is going to come up that I'm going to cast on are the convertible fingerless gloves that my son requested, and that I am going to be knitting out of this Wool of the Andes worsted weight that I got from Knit Picks, laboriously got from Knit Picks in December. So yeah, I'm going to start these. I'm going to try to cast this on later today, actually, because I'm having breakfast with him on Saturday, and I'd like to get it far enough that I can have him maybe try it on to see if it's going to fit. I still haven't decided on a pattern. I have a few different patterns that I have pulled out that I think might work. So I have to look at them again to decide which one I really want to do. But this is my on deck project is this. Otherwise, I'm mostly going to be concentrating on those 2 ridgetop projects for right now, because that's what I want to do. Of course, there's always other projects floating in the wings, waiting in the wings, and who knows what I might have to show you the next time I record in mid-February. It'll be a surprise to us all. Okay. I did mention that some of these things were on my 20 and 20, so let's move into the 20 and 20 challenge chatter. That thread has been quite active in the Fiber Nymph Dye Works Ravelry group, so if you're not there yet and you would like to take part in the 20 and 20 challenge, you're still welcome to. The thread for our lists is locked already, your 20 and 20 list, but you can just create your own list and add it the next time I have that thread open. No problem. Same way, if you already have a list created and you're making changes to it, just mark them up on your own copy, and then you can make those changes in the group whenever the list is open again at the beginning of April. But hey, how are you doing? I hope you're having some luck with your projects that you had on there. Again, the whole concept for the 20 and 20 was meant to be inspiration and motivational, not, hard and fast. You have to do this because you wrote it down. That's not the point. But I find it helpful to have things written down. That encourages me to stick with those plans, at least in the short term. And so far, so good. 3 of the patterns that I had in there, I've finished already. So my right around the corner, I had listed as one of my patterns that I wanted to finish. So that was done, even though it was a whip. We're allowing some whips. The Granny Square project, that was another one, even though that's not really a pattern. I was considering it a pattern for the sake of my lists. And my sugar cookies socks, which I showed you last time. Again, that wasn't really a regular pattern either. It was just my own plain vanilla. I think that was a ribbed one. But for whatever reason, I had it on my patterns list. So whatever, I finished 3 things that I had on the patterns list. I finished 1 yarn, which was the Floating Lanterns yarn that I just showed you those socks. So that's cool. And then both of these ridgetop projects, the fingering weight and the DK weight, they count for pattern as well, because I specifically had the Wind Waker pattern on my pattern list, and then I had just the ridgetop DK listed that I wanted to do a pattern for that yarn. So I've got one now. So I'm feeling pretty good about how I'm coming along with that. I did not have these gloves, sadly, on my 20 and 20 list. I may add them retroactively because I can. So I would love to know how you're doing with your 20 and 20 lists. I apologize that I've not been super active in that thread on Ravelry. I have been reading what you've been writing. I just haven't always had a chance to be able to respond. I did sit this morning though and try to catch up. So I'm loving seeing what you guys are making. I love that the 20 and 20 challenge is helping some of you get your mojo going. I know some of you might be a little bit frustrated because you haven't really gotten going yet, but it's okay. 20 and 20 is a long year. It's 12 months long. So if you didn't accomplish a whole lot in January, take heart. You've still got 11 months to go. And even if you do not finish everything on your list or your lists, it's okay. This is all just a tool for you to use to motivate yourself in whatever way works for you. All right. I do have a prize winner to announce for the That's My Jam pattern, which was so kindly donated by its designer, Steve Fegert of Leading Men Fiber Arts. I did not bring my printout of the pattern in, but I'll try to remember to stick a picture of the pattern here whenever I'm editing. I've had this thread open since the last time I recorded, and we had 23 posts in all in the thread. The first one was mine, so I did a random number generator for 2 through 23, and the winner was number 16, who is Mim, and that is Mindy. Congratulations, Mindy. Please PM me when you hear this that you are the winner, and I will get you connected with Steve, who will gift you the pattern. My prompt for this drawing, since it was called the That's My Jam wrap, I asked everybody, what is your favorite thing to put on your toasted breakfast bread of choice? And Mindy replied, I like toast the way my grandma made it. Butter, slice of cheese, and dill pickle slices. Yum. I have never heard of it on toast for breakfast, but it sounds really good. I'm going to have to try that. Lately, my thing, I love avocado, just like smashing avocado on, I don't eat toast, I eat those sandwich rounds, those Arnold's multigrain sandwich rounds, whole grain, I don't know. And I'll smash like a quarter of an avocado on each half, which is fine, and I usually sprinkle a little bit of pepper. And lately, though, I have been sprinkling some crushed red pepper flakes on it, too. Wow, that made such a difference, and it's so tasty. Yummy. All right, so that's everything I've got for you for 90% this week. Let's go into 10%. January. Let's talk about January for a minute. It was a good month for me. The last time I talked to you, I said I was really enjoying the fact that it was that quiet post-holiday part of the winter, even though we haven't had a lot of winter. If you could look out my window, you would see no snow, although I think we're supposed to get some tonight. But yeah, January was a really good month. I feel like it was a good time. I reset a lot of things for me personally. I did complete all 30 days of the Yoga with Adriene 30-day home challenge. Or not challenge, journey. She calls it a journey. But I did all 30 days. There was only one day that I could not do yoga, but I did the yoga video for it late in the afternoon the day before, because you can see those on the members board if you're a member of her Find What Feels Good website, which I am. Anyway, yeah, so I did that. I felt really good about that. I've never succeeded in doing one of those whole month challenges before, so the fact that I did last month was epic. And I'm still doing it. I'm still doing yoga every day. I'm following, she has a monthly calendar that she puts out that's free for anybody. So I'm following that loosely, although some days if whatever's on there doesn't look like something I really want to do, I find another video and I just substitute it because she's got hundreds of videos out there. January also basically moved primarily to a plant-based diet. That had not been my plan at the beginning of the year. I was just planning to watch what I ate and like keep track of how I felt when I ate certain things, but fairly quickly on, I realized I wanted to eliminate meat from my diet to see how much of a difference it made. It made a huge difference. I felt so much better. For a while, I was still eating chicken as well as fish and seafood, but I eventually eliminated the chicken. I haven't had chicken in a few weeks now. I am still eating a little bit of seafood and fish here and there, but not very often, like maybe once a week. Overall, though, I feel really good between the yoga and the eating differently. I feel good. I have lost a little bit of weight, but that's not my primary goal in this. It's basically to feel better, to try to get some physical issues, health issues under control a little bit better, since, I've talked about that enough. Anyway, I feel like it's doing that. What else? I'm hoping to bring my cholesterol down without medication, because medications are A, expensive, and B, side effecty. Some of us can't take statins. We can't tolerate them. So, yeah, it's going well. I'm continuing with this month, the yoga. I'm adding in meditation. I'm trying to do a little bit of meditation every day, like actual meditation, not just breathing. That's not going all that well. It is going okay. I was using the Calm app, which they had a free 7-day meditation practice thing on there, which I did, and that was fine. Then I went to their next one, which is a 21-day, but only the first one of that is free. And if, like, the second day never unlocked for me, so I'm assuming you have to pay for their subscription. And so far I have not paid for the app for that one. I don't know. I might sometime, or I may just look for free meditation things online, because I know there's a lot of them. So anyway, doing that, and I have a goal of trying to add one plant-based recipe, like a new recipe, to my recipe regime, or not regime, repertoire. That's the word I'm looking for, every week. And this week I learned how to bake tofu. I made crispy baked tofu semi-successfully. I think I over-baked it for as small as I had the pieces. It was a little dried out. Plus, you're supposed to dredge it in cornstarch, and I dredged it in way too much cornstarch. But I also made a second recipe, which was peanut dipping sauce. And that covers a multitude of sins. You dip that over-baked tofu in that peanut sauce, and it tastes okay. So I'll try the tofu again. I don't want to eat a ton of tofu, though, because soy... well, I don't have a problem eating soy. The hormones, are they phytoestrogens? Is that the correct term for that? Are not necessarily great for you to eat a lot of tofu. Anyway, whatever. Yeah, I'm mainly trying to get my proteins from like beans and legumes and nuts and things like that. So we'll see. And again, I am still eating fish here and there. One of the resources, though, I'm relying on a lot of online resources, and one of them that I've found that I've really, really liked and I'm using a lot is a website called Pick Up Limes, and she's got a YouTube channel as well. Lots of videos. I will link that in the show notes as well if you're interested in that. She has a lot of, she's vegan, but obviously the recipes are vegetarian friendly too. I don't know that I'll ever go completely vegan, at least not at this point, and that's fine, but I don't have any problem eating vegan recipes occasionally, and obviously you can take a vegan recipe and use non-vegan items in it if you want to. So anyway, Pick Up Limes. I am enjoying her videos and her website. Other than that, January for me was largely about trying to not rush, to take my time, to manage my time better, and more mindfully, so that I don't need to rush. Because that, it's that whole effort of trying to, remain calm, keep my anxiety in check. And again, I think I mentioned this last time, and I'll say it again. The changes that I've made both with the yoga and the diet really feel like they have brought my anxiety levels down significantly. They haven't gone away completely. I had a couple days this week actually where my anxiety was like way up here, and I don't know why. Could be hormonal. But overall, way better, and I have not needed to take any of my anxiety meds, which is awesome. I don't have anything against taking meds. If you need the meds, take the meds, for gosh sakes. If that improves your quality of life, take them. But if I can find ways to do things that help, that don't require me to take my meds, I'm cool about that too. Anyway, yeah, I want to talk about a song that kind of relates to this theme of not rushing, because I happened upon it. I get newsletters from Rising Appalachia. I don't know if you follow that band. Very cool folk roots music kind of band. And so they sent out a newsletter recently where they had done a Tiny Desk concert with NPR. I don't listen to NPR a lot, but I like the Tiny Desk concerts when I see them. So I watched their concert, and one of the songs they did was their song Medicine, which I hadn't heard before. And as soon as it started, the first line, it says, "Wise men say that rushing is violence." And as soon as I heard those words, I'm like, oh my gosh, yes, that resonated with me so much. And so I had to, of course, look up like where that came from. And I think it's probably related to or based on a quote by Thomas Merton, who was a monk back in the 60s and he wrote this whole thing about the violence of rushing, and it's long. I'm not going to go into that. I'm going to talk more about the song, but I think that's the basis for that quote in that song, that lyric. But anyway, I looked up the lyrics to this song because sometimes I like to read lyrics as well as hear them. And so when I was reading on this one website, I found a site that had the lyrics, but there also was an introduction to the lyrics, and I'm pretty sure it was written by the band members, or one of the band members. It's two sisters who are the main members of this band. And I'm going to read this to you because I found it so, again, it just resonated with me. Medicine, the name of the song, is a song anthem honoring the traditions of folk medicine, plant-based medicine as a tool for empowerment and healing. Okay, so right there, that first sentence, I'm like, that is exactly what I'm trying to do. I mean, even if we're not talking about I'm not looking at my plant-based diet as medicine, but really the food you eat is sort of a form of medicine because it's what keeps us living. But anyway, I read that and I'm like, I can't believe how closely this relates to what I'm doing right now in my life. I love it when things like that happen. Okay, continuing to read. It is a call to action to support the voices of the herbalists, healers, and teachers, the roots, plants, trees, and stones, the arts, the spirits, and the wild ones. It is an honoring of all the many ways that we can be well, and the radical and traditional ways in which we can steward health within ourselves. It's like you're singing my song, literally. This song is a direct tribute to the people around the world who are holding and teaching these ways of herbal plant-based medicine, educating us all to know our gardens, our forests, our plants, and our own bodies, to bring wellness back into our own hands and communities. Yes. It is not a dismissal of modern medicine, but a gratitude and honoring of its ancestry and foundations within folkloric traditions. I think that's perfect. I just love that sentiment through that whole thing. And it really makes me think about, the class I took with Maria Muscarella of Ninja Chickens when I was at Vogue Knitting Live in Columbus last November. I took her class, what was it? Herbs and plants for dyeing food and medicine. But it's that same thing. I love that class because I love learning about that kind of, just such natural, basic, back to earth kind of chemistry, essentially, is what it is. And again, I'm speaking for myself here. I can't tell anybody else what to do, but for me, I feel like the closer I can keep things to things being natural, the healthier I feel and the healthier I am. Even before I started doing all these changes this year to my diet and everything, I've known that for a very long time, that when I can keep things natural and simple, and I mean simple as in non-complex, not easy, that I find it to be just much more healthful in a holistic sense. Okay, so I will link to the video of that song if you're interested in that, and I'll also link to this page that has this, because there was actually more paragraphs. I didn't print them all out, but these two just, really spoke to me, and I thought I would share them. All right, so that is everything for the 90% and 10% part of the podcast. Again, I'll be recording the shop news and update section probably tomorrow once my yarn is all dry. But I can tell you that I'm introducing a new color play series of yarns. I'm so excited. Color play number 1 was last year, and it's taken me till this point to be able to come up with color play number 2 because I didn't want to force it. I wanted it to come about organically, and it has, and I'm really happy with it. I can't wait to show you all of the yarn. I have it dyed up on a ton of bases. I have it dyed up on fiber. I have it in a couple of different forms, semi-solid, variegated, and striping. I've got a couple of new yarn bases that I've put it on that have never been in the shop before, and a couple of new fiber. Actually, one new fiber. The other fiber I think I haven't had in the shop before. But anyway, just a whole bunch of fun new things. And I have some restocks that I'm going to be doing as well. So I will tell you all about that in the shop news section tomorrow. But for now, thank you so much for watching, and stay tuned for part 2 if you want to hear the shop news. Me again. Just a reminder, I am not putting the shop news segment here at the end of this video. We're done. This is it. It's all she wrote for today. But I will be doing a standalone video for the shop preview and the shop news, and I'll be announcing the January monthly Makes Chatter winner All of that will be in its own separate little video that I'm probably going to record tomorrow. And I'll have all of the shop stuff to show you for the update that's coming up on Monday. Again, though, ooh, here's some pretties. Oh, okay, that's it. Hey, have a great day. Talk to you later. Literally, later tomorrow. Tomorrow, I'll talk to you later. Bye.